Hi, I'm Anne Pollard, and this is the reading of my book, Cleo's Fabulous Adventures, The Realm of the Woods. Chapter 17, Orion the Owl. Bacchus and Cleo turned to leave the sanctuary. They headed down the path they came from. Cleo talked as they walked. It's so sad about the numbats and what happened to them. I think it's such a horrible thing when we lose a whole species of animals. I want to do something to help, Bacchus. Bacchus smiled and said, Then you shall, Cleo. Like Netzach said, start small. You never know what the end result will be. Just keep that joy alive in your heart. It will lead you to what you will do next. They walked for a while until they came upon the fence. Cleo reached out to grab Bacchus's tail. He turned to her and said, You don't need to do that. Then Bacchus proceeded to walk through the fence just as he had done before. He turned back to Cleo and said, Believe. Cleo nodded, closed her eyes as she moved towards the fence. I believe, she whispered as she walked through the fence with Zuriel. Bacchus and Cleo continued down the path. As they walked, it began to get darker. They approached some woods that were dense with tall trees. As they entered this new forest, it became even darker. There was a very distinct feeling about these woods. It felt mystical and magical. Cleo began to feel tingly inside, but she was not afraid, and it was completely silent. The only noise was the sound of Cleo's footsteps. Bacchus walked so quietly you could not hear him at all. They wandered through the woods as the path seemed to disappear into the forest floor of pine needles and leaves. It was now very dark except for the millions of stars that shone above. They were so bright they lit up the forest so Cleo could see. Bacchus and Cleo then emerged into a large clearing. It was a perfect circle surrounded by the forest. There was one lone tree in the exact center of the circle. It was very large. Its branches were thick and illuminated by the stars. The base was larger than Cleo could reach around, and there were lots of branches that seemed to be reaching for the night sky. Bacchus silently walked to the tree and sat down. Cleo followed. Wow, Bacchus, she said. This is fabulous. Look at all the stars. I don't think I have ever seen them so clearly. And there are so many of them. Bacchus said, Yes, they are amazing. Why don't we lay down here by the tree and just look at them? Cleo was happy to take a short rest, and so she lay down on the ground beside Bacchus. Can you feel her? Asked Bacchus. What do you mean? Answered Cleo. Gaia. That's what we call Mother Earth. She is real. She has consciousness, and she has been around for billions of years. Your Earth is the physical manifestation of Gaia's consciousness. It's made of mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms, and all of them are assisted by Gaia and her nature spirits from birth to death. When you are close to the Earth, you can feel her presence. It is a nurturing feeling and very grounding. Cleo closed her eyes and felt the ground beneath her. It was very solid and supportive. She felt the energy of the earth in her whole body. That tingly feeling was getting stronger. She took a calming deep breath and said, Ah, yes, I can feel that. I can feel Gaia. I feel so connected. Bacchus smiled and said, Now look at the stars. You're connected to them as well, Cleo. Remember, you are all that is, so you're connected to everything in the universe. Cleo looked up at the night sky. As she was pondering what Bacchus just said, she saw something amazing happen. 3 stars that were in a row began to glow even brighter. They seemed to be pulsing with light. Then each of the stars formed a stream of light that began to descend to the ground. The three light streams met in the sky and combined to form one large stream. It came down directly toward them and lit up the whole top of the tree. Then it vanished as quickly as it came. Cleo held her breath. She and Bacchus both looked up at the tree where the light had touched. There was a form on the tree limb that was white and fluffy. Bacchus stood up and said, "Hello, Orion." Cleo stood and squinched her eyes to see who Bacchus was talking to. As the form became clearer, she could see it was a snowy white owl. He perched on the highest branch in the tree and was difficult to see clearly. So in order to meet his guests, he launched from the tree limb. His wings spread out easily and gracefully into a 4-foot span. After just 2 flaps of his wings, he floated through the air, making no sound at all. He circled the tree 3 times and then landed on the lowest branch. His mighty claws gripped the tree and he folded his wings back to his body. His feathers were as white as snow. He had a black beak and bright golden eyes with dark black pupils. There were a few black markings on his body and wings that looked like little dots. His black claws were huge and covered in white feathers. In the darkness of the tree, he was glowing. "Hello, Bacchus," he said, the telltale hoot echoing his words. "I am so pleased to see you all, you, Cleo, and Zuriel." Bacchus introduced Orion to Cleo. "I'm so pleased to meet you, Orion," said Cleo. "That was quite an entrance." "Thank you, Cleo," Orion said. "Nothing short of miraculous, if I do say so myself." Cleo watched as Orion began to scan the area. He moved his head very slowly, and it almost looked like he could move it in a complete circle around his body. It was so mesmerizing to watch him. It was so fluid. "Ah," said Orion, "so many visitors here tonight." Bacchus smiled. Cleo looked around but saw nothing. It was an empty field with one lone tree. Cleo looked at Bacchus inquisitively for some sort of explanation. Bacchus said, "Orion, Cleo is not seeing the other visitors. Can you help her to understand?" "Oh, of course," hooted Orion. "Cleo, you are going to discover something amazing. You see, there are quite a few galactic visitors tonight. They came to meet you and observe. They come from different places in the galaxy. When they heard you would be here, they wanted to help." Cleo looked around again, completely confused. "I don't see anything," she thought. "Well, that's because they are in a different frequency than you," said Orion. "You can only see with your human eyes the things that are vibrating in the same frequency as you. In order to see them, you have to change your vibrational frequency." Cleo thought, well, I guess he can read my mind just like Bacchus. Then she said, "What do you mean by galactic visitors, Orion? You mean like outer space?" Orion hooted in a soft laugh. "Well, I guess you as a human would see it that way. They are beings from other places in the galaxy. Some from your solar system and some from much farther away. They exist in a different dimension than we are in now. So they are here, but not visible to you as a human." Cleo turned to Bacchus and said, "Bacchus, can you see them?" Bacchus nodded yes. "I can go between dimensions, Cleo," said Bacchus, "so I can see your 3rd dimension as well as the others. Of course, you can do that as well. It's not forbidden or impossible. It's just a matter of raising your 3rd dimensional vibration to open up to new things." Cleo was puzzled and frustrated. "Bacchus," she said, "this is the most woo-woo you have ever been. You mean there are little green men here?" Bacchus laughed. Then he looked to Orion and said, "Orion, perhaps you can draw on your wisdom and mysterious powers to help Cleo understand." Orion was pleased to be asked, and so he began. Thank you, Bacchus. I would be most honored. Cleo, as an owl, I have access to ancient wisdom and a connection to all of the magical aspects of life. We are a most mystical animal. We have access to ancient knowledge that is just now coming back to your world. What you would call alien in your human language are actually the beings that came to Earth millions of years ago. That was done with the permission of the Galactic Council. Earth was to become the great experiment. Sometimes the galactic beings were more directly involved, other times they were less visible, but they were always there. You see, Earth was to become the great experiment with emotions, and universal consciousness, all that is, wanted to feel and experience every depth of emotion possible. But universal consciousness could not feel those emotions because it only existed in unconditional love. So in order to really see and feel the emotions, Earth became the planet where its inhabitants would be allowed to forget that they were source energy, that they were unconditional love at their core. As the souls came to Earth, they went through a process of descension, where they would literally forget that they were source energy, all that is. That is the only way humans could feel all emotions to the depth they do, because they were allowed to forget. And so, this incredible game of third dimension emotions has been playing out for millennia. Through the thousands of your Earth years, human consciousness would ebb and flow, much like Gaia ebbs and flows. The galactic beings were on Earth, some trying to help and others trying to control. And at the darkest times, the Galactic Council would send masters to incarnate on Earth to help the humans see what their potential really was, to help them remember their source power. They came to show the humans that there was an enlightened path that was available to anyone who chose it. But free will is a universal law, so the human was left to decide if they would remember their core of unconditional love, or whether they would stay in the game and continue to play. And either way, it was and continues to be the perfect path for them. So, Cleo, you see, there have been galactic beings here from the start. Most of them have been through their own path of ascension and awakening, so they better understand what Earth humans are experiencing now, and they want to help. It can take years of practice for some humans, and for others it can happen in an instant. That ability to open and allow the other frequencies and dimensions to be seen. But if that is your choice, then you will see and feel the galactic friends and ancestors that you have, and understand even more who you are and what your path is. Cleo was stunned at what Orion had just said. How is this possible that all of this had been around for so long and I didn't know anything about it? That's crazy. So, said Cleo, you mean I can see these other beings if I just change my frequency? What does that mean, and how would I even do that? Orion continued, your consciousness is what molds your energy, and you are already more conscious than most humans. You know that you can change your reality by changing your thoughts and focus. When you are conscious of what your energy can do and just how powerful you are, then you raise your vibration, your frequency. And Cleo, you've already done that. In fact, you've done it many times today. Now it's just a matter of honing your skills. Your animal guides can help you with that as you work on it every day. Zuriel can guide you as well. For now, you'll need to trust me that they're here and they're here to help. As you continue to raise your consciousness and stay in that state for longer and longer periods of time, all will be visible to you. Orion looked around at the visitors and nodded his head as his eyes slowly blinked. Cleo, he said, remember that your body is actually an antenna. It's a miracle, really, the miracle of life that happens in your body every split second. Realize how amazing it is. Your body is creating new cells, beating your heart, taking in air to breathe, digesting your food, and processing everything your physical senses are perceiving. Yet you don't have to think about any of that, nor do you have to direct any of that to happen. Wouldn't you say that is a miracle? Cleo laughed softly, realizing what Orion was saying was indeed true. Wow, she said, it really is a miracle when you put it that way. Orion nodded his head again. And Cleo, imagine what else is possible. Everything is possible, because everything is energy, and energy can take whatever form you want it to. You are the master of all of your energy, and you can co-create miracles all the time with all that is, because you are one and the same. Miracles aren't always super spectacular things, remember? Humans are so predisposed to expecting everything to be huge and grand. No judgment, humans are evolving. But you can now see that miracles are everywhere. In nature, in your physical world, and in your spiritual world. They can be as beautiful and simple as a butterfly emerging from a cocoon to a mongoose who is immune to cobra venom. See all of those things as a miracle, because that's in fact what they are. And when you are ready to manifest miracles in your life, like your next job, starting your own sanctuary for an animal that's facing extinction, or paying off your mortgage, then call on me. I can help you manifest any miracle you wish. If you can see it in your mind's eye, it's yours for the receiving, or when you're ready to see the visitors. Thank you, Orion, said Cleo. This has been a truly magical visit. And even though I can't see the visitors yet, I'm sure they are there. You really are very mystical and very wise. It's been my greatest honor to spend time with you. It is I who am honored, Cleo, said Orion. Anyone who's willing to explore this magnificent universe is a special friend. We are all here for you always, in every moment. You only need to ask for our help, and we will be there. Orion slowly turned his head toward Bacchus and said, Bacchus, you are also a special friend to help Cleo on her adventure. All of us continue to support you on your quest. Be in magic, my dear friend. Bacchus bowed his head to Orion. No words were needed. Orion heard Bacchus's thanks. Orion spread his wings to fly. As he lifted off the branch, he winked at Zuriel. 3 flaps of those magnificent wings, and he was off again. He flew back toward the 3 stars in the sky, and soon disappeared among the blanket of starlight. Thank you for joining me. Have a fabulous day.